I'm going to click on Design New App, and I'm going to give it a meaningful name. So I'll just say Hedera Demo, for example. So Hedera Demo, click Save. Okay, and now I'll be brought here to a blank app canvas. So I'll get started on creating a wallet. So I'm going to click on Create New Form, and we'll give this a meaningful name. So I'll just say this is account details, for example. So account details. And for the table name, I'm just going to give it a simple, meaningful name over here to store the account data. So I'll say Hedera Demo, and I'll click Save. So by doing this, it's going to bring me to the form builder. So throughout this entire demo, you will not see me writing a single line of code. All of this is no code. So I'll start off with this section. I'll just give it a meaningful name. So I'll just say this is the account data. Click OK. Now, a Hedera account, we need the account ID. So I'll just drag in a few text fields here. We are going to store the private key or the mnemonic phrase, if that's applicable, and who owns this account, and is this a test account or not. So I'm just going to quickly name these fields to give it a meaningful name here. So I'll say account ID, okay, and this is the mnemonic phrase, so name it search. And here we'll store the account owner, okay, account owner. And lastly, just to know if this is a test account, so I'll call this is test account. Click OK. All right, so just like that, our form is good enough. So I'm just going to click Save. All right. Now, just to speed things up, I'm going to use a feature in Joget called the App Generator here. Now, it's going to use this form, and it's going to help me generate whichever elements that I prefer. So in this case, all I need is a CRUD to see a listing of all the accounts I have. So I'm just going to check Generate CRUD, and I'll click on Generate. So I'll go to Processes and click on Design Processes. So by doing this, it's going to bring me to the Process Builder. So over here, I'll start off by just giving this meaningful name. So I'll say generate account. Okay, generate account process. And the workflow variables, we'll just leave it as is for now. We'll click OK. And over here, just to give you an overview, over here, this white box here denotes an activity that a human would interact with. And this green box here is a tool. So this is something that the system Joget system itself would be executing. So it can be just as simple as this. So I'm telling Joget, just run this one tool, that's all. So I'll name this generate account. All right, click OK, and click deploy. So we can either do it from here, or in Joget.ex, we can just click on Configure Mapping, and we can map our tools visually, right? So over here, we define that there should be a tool. Now we are going to map our plugin. So I'll just edit it, and I'll search for the plugin I have, which is the Hedera Generate Account tool. So I'll click on it. So here it's going to just ask me for a few fields to fill up. So for example, I need my operator ID and key. So over here, I just need to say, this is the testnet. I'll automatically fund the test account. And now I will store whichever generated account into the form that we just created just now. So I'll click on account details. And at this point, it's just a matter of just finding your fields and mapping it accordingly in this case. So I'll say account owner, and account owner, I'm going to use a Joget specific feature to automatically find the user that is generating it and map it to its test account. And just like that, it's good enough. And I'll click on submit. So the plugin is ready and we can try it out. So all we need to do is drag in any menus that we need. So in this case, I drag in a run process. I'll just need to modify it and point it to the generate account process. So I'll just give this a meaningful name. So generate new account. Okay. And click OK and click save. So let's just modify this user view real quick to change the look and feel. In Joget, you can do it very quickly. So I'll just have to go to the Userview Builder. I'll go to settings, and over here, I can just select any theme that I like. So for example, let's say I'll select a different theme called the angle theme. And let's say I can change the primary color to, let's say, purple, for example. So I'll just select color here, that's a bit friendly. Okay. And it looks good. I just have to click on save. Now, the next time that we come back to our front end, if we refresh the page, you can see that the whole interface has changed completely. So this is, the data list has changed. The way the form looks has also changed. I'll click on generate new account. I'll click on run process. And by doing this, we should have a valid Hedera account right now. So there we go. So we have our account here. And when I click edit, there we go. So right here, this is a valid account right now in the testnet, which is already funded with test funds. This time, I will need a different form to perform a transfer transaction. So I'll just click on new form, and I'm just going to name this accordingly. So transaction details. And I'm just going to borrow the same table name here and click save. Okay, so right here, once again, we're back at the form builder. And as we're familiar, I'll rename the section. So I'll say transaction details. Now, a basic transaction, we basically have the sender, the fund, amount, and the receiver. So that's pretty much only 3 fields that we need. So we need the sender. I'll drag in a select box for this one. We need the amount, so another text field, and one more for the receiver to paste into. So at this point here, I'm just going to name these fields accordingly. So for example, the sender. Now, just to make it a bit more convenient, I do not want to copy the sender's account ID all the time. Now, we can use something in Joget called the options binder. So by using this, I'm able to retrieve all of the accounts that I've already generated for me. So for example, I configure it, I click OK, and you notice that any accounts that I create, it's automatically available up here. So it's just a bit more convenient. Now over here, I'll just call this amount and the receiver. Okay, right, so this looks good enough also. I'll click save. Now, once again, I am going to use the app generator, but this time there's a little twist. Let's say to perform a transaction, we require a management approval, for example. Now, with the app generator, once again, we can do this really easily. All we need to do is check this option here, and this is the process flow that it will be automatically generated for us as a form of a template, for example. And later on, we can even modify them after the generation. So by checking these options, I'll just once again click on generate. All right, okay. So the CRUD, the approval process has already been generated for us. So this process here, essentially the applicant would submit a form, it goes to approval, and only if it's approved, let's say we want to send the funds. So all we need is just some slight modifications to this process design. So once again, I'll open it up in the process builder, and I'm just going to change the name of this tool. So let's say send hbar, and click OK. All right, so this looks good. Now I just need to modify something else. So in here, this is something called workflow variables. Just in layman terms, the workflow variables is basically values that will be stored from each process instances, which is specific to that instance of the process itself. So in this case, we will be storing additional data such as the transaction URL that we will be seeing it later from the plugin. It will be automatically generated, and the validation status. So validation status. Click OK and deploy the process. Over here, I'm just gonna once again go to the process mapper, and on this tool here, I can edit it, and now I'll find that plugin. It's called the Hedera Send Transaction tool. Right, so we have the operator ID, the key, the network, testnet. Now the transaction itself, we will need the sender, the details to extract from the form. Sure. Over here, I've already configured this tool here. It's called the Hedera Send Transaction tool. So right now, in its rudimentary form, all I did was just insert a bunch of something called hash variables to dynamically populate the plugin configuration. So once again, we can see that all of these, the approval process is already available to us. So I'll click on Submit Transaction Details. Now, of course, we only got one account. So just to display this better, I'm just going to simply create one more account. Okay, so I just once again create a second account as the receiver. And there we go. Now we have two accounts. I am going to treat this one as the receiver. So just remember the number 255. And I'll just come back here. This is the receiver. So let's say I want to send this amount of hbar, for example. Now I'll click Submit. Since the admin user himself is also the HOD, so hence why I can also see my own approval, for example. Okay, so over here, now I'm at the approval stage, right? So if I were to show graphically, we are at this stage here. So if I were to click the approve button, at this point, it should be sending those funds over. So I'll click approve, and there we go. So this process is completed. It's no longer in our inbox. Now we can go to the process monitor to see what has happened, to see a trail. So in this case, I'm going to go to completed processes, and we can see this is the process that we just finished. And when we go to this specific tool, we can see that it has indeed executed this tool, and it gives us this transaction URL that's automatically generated. So we can see that the transaction is successful. And if I were to navigate to that URL, we should be able to see our transaction. This transaction has been executed. We can see this is the correct amount of tiny bars, and the transfer seems to be good.